I wanted to talk to you today about grief. Grief is something really dear to my heart. In our lifetime, we will all experience grief in different ways. We can experience grief when someone we love dies. We can experience grief when a relationship ends. We can even experience a collective grief when a community or even the world goes through something significant. Grief, I believe, is always with us, yet it's something that isn't spoken about very much. I experienced a huge loss in my life when my mother died, and actually I experienced loss either side of that in different forms. And in those moments I felt like my heart was going to break into 1,000 pieces. I'd heard about heartbreak and I'd even thought that I'd experienced it, but nothing prepared me for the pain that I experienced in that moment. It was physical and emotional all at once. Grief is so hard and so difficult to navigate. It feels so deep that we want to push it away. We want to run as far away as we can from it. Of course we do. Of course we do. It's painful. It's really painful. But I believe that grief is sacred. I believe that if we allow ourselves to open up and really experience our grief, it can show us the true beauty in life as well. And I think that's the paradox of grief. It wasn't until I'd experienced a grief so deep that I really started to notice life. That I really started to notice the birds singing, the sunsets. It's like beauty had a deeper essence. Joy felt so much deeper, but only because of the deep despair and pain that I had experienced. And that's why I think it's important to acknowledge our grief, to be with our grief, to dance with it. Francis Weller says that grief isn't something that should be endured. There would have been a time when if we were grieving, we'd be surrounded by community and family, and we've lost that. But actually we need people around us when we grieve, when we feel heartbreak. We need to be supported by love. And there are many different elements to grief. Many different elements to grief. I've just described for me it was the initial impact, the initial heartbreak and the initial pain that was just so deep. And then it changed over time. It's been a long time now, and it's changed. And it doesn't mean that I don't still experience grief. I do. When a Mother's Day comes round, that's the day that hits me personally the hardest. And for everybody it's different. It might be a birthday, it might be an anniversary. It's different for every single one of us. Our grief is as unique as we are. And it will all have a different essence and a different sense depending on, who you've lost, how they've left this world. It will all depend. And if there's one thing that I could say to you is, I give you permission to grieve. I give you permission to grieve. Those are the words that I wish I'd heard when I was in the depths, the real depths of grief. You can feel like you're going crazy. It brings you to your knees. But you're not going crazy. You are grieving for something that you've lost. And I know I've spoken mostly about someone dying and bereavement, but whatever your grief, you are grieving for something you've lost. And it's appropriate to grieve. It's appropriate to take time. And it takes a long time. There's no rush here. Only to be with your sacred grief that is guiding you. That is guiding you. And if you can, and it depends on where you are, see if you can keep your heart open in your grief and allow it all in. Grief is sacred.